The park was alive with the hum of a summer afternoon, kids shrieking on swings, joggers pounding paths, the air thick with the scent of cut grass. Then, a shout sliced through the noise, sharp as a blade. By the time heads turned, Officer Daniel Carter had James Ellison pinned against a tree, cuffs glinting in the sunlight. James didn't flinch. Not when the cold metal bit into his wrists. Not when Carter's barked orders drew a crowd. His suit, tailored and crisp, screamed professionalism. But to Carter, he was just another suspect in a string of vague reports about a suspicious black male in Lincoln Park. James's eyes, dark and steady, locked onto Carter's, holding a quiet storm of restraint. He wasn't just any man. He was a senior FBI agent, a fact Carter would learn too late. The call had come in 20 minutes earlier. A man loitering near the park's fountain, possibly armed. Carter, a 7-year veteran with a chip on his shoulder, didn't hesitate. He'd seen the stats, heard the briefings, crime spikes in summer, always in places like this. When he spotted James, standing calmly by the fountain, phone in hand, something in Carter's gut twitched. The man's posture was too composed, too deliberate. Carter's radio crackled with his partner's voice, urging caution, but he was already moving, his hand on his holster. Hands where I can see them, Carter's voice boomed, drawing eyes from every corner of the park. James raised his hands slowly, his phone slipping to the grass. He didn't speak, didn't protest, not yet. His silence unnerved Carter, who mistook it for defiance. On the ground now. The crowd thickened, phones out, recording. A woman in a red tracksuit yelled, "He's not doing anything." A teenage boy muttered, "Same old story." Carter's pulse raced. He didn't see a man in a suit. He saw a threat, a profile, a split-second decision that could make or break his career. He grabbed James's arm, twisting it back, and snapped on the cuffs. The metal clicked with a finality that silenced the park. James's voice finally broke through, low and measured. "Officer, you're making a mistake." Carter snorted, pulling him toward the patrol car. "Save it. You're coming with me." The second officer, Ramirez, jogged up, his face tight with unease. "Dan, hold up. Something's off. He's not fighting back." Carter ignored him, shoving James against the tree for a pat-down. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a chorus of anger and disbelief. A young girl, no older than 10, clutched her mother's hand and whispered, "Why's he in trouble?" Her mother had no answer, only a grimace. James's wallet fell from his jacket, landing open on the grass. A glint of gold caught Ramirez's eye badge, unmistakable, embossed with the FBI seal. He froze, his hand hovering over his radio. "Dan, stop. Look at this." Carter glanced down, his jaw tightening. "Probably fake. Keep moving." "It's not fake," James said, his voice cutting through the tension like a wire. "Check the ID. Call it in. I'm Senior Special Agent James Ellison, Counterterrorism Division." The words hit Carter like a punch. He stepped back, his hands still gripping James's arm, but his confidence wavered. Ramirez was already on the radio, relaying the badge number to dispatch. The crowd sensed the shift, their voices rising. "Let him go!" someone shouted. A man in a baseball cap stepped closer, filming, his voice shaking with rage. "This is why we don't trust y'all." Carter's mind raced. He'd followed protocol, hadn't he? The call, the description, the gut instinct, it all lined up. But the badge, the calm authority in James's voice, the crowd's growing hostility, it was unraveling. Dispatch crackled back, confirming James's identity. Senior FBI agent. Decorated. Clean record. Carter's stomach churned. "Uncuff him," Ramirez said, his tone urgent. "Now, Dan." Carter hesitated, his pride warring with the truth. He'd seen the news, the protests, the endless debates about profiling. He'd told himself he was different, that he judged situations, not skin. But here, in the glare of a dozen phone cameras, with a man's career and dignity in his hands, doubt crept in. James didn't move, didn't gloat. His eyes stayed on Carter, not accusing, but searching, as if weighing the man behind the badge. "You've got a choice here, officer," he said softly. "Make the right one." The cuffs came off with a reluctant click. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others jeering. Carter stepped back, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. Ramirez muttered an apology, but James waved it off. He straightened his suit, picked up his wallet, and addressed the crowd. "Go home. I'm fine. This doesn't end here, but it's done for now." He walked away, his stride deliberate, leaving Carter staring at the ground. The crowd dispersed slowly, their voices lingering like echoes of a storm. Carter's radio buzzed with his sergeant's voice, demanding a report. He didn't answer. Not yet. James didn't head for his car. Instead, he sat on a bench by the fountain, the same one where this had all started. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Director," he said, his voice steady but heavy. "We need to talk." The precinct was a hive of tension by the time Carter returned. His sergeant, a grizzled woman named Hawkins, didn't mince words. "You screwed up, Carter. Big time. That man's got connections you can't even dream of. What were you thinking?" Carter slumped in a chair, his badge feeling heavier than ever. "I was doing my job. Suspicious male, vague description fits half the guys in that park. I didn't know he was FBI. Hawkins leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "You didn't ask. You assumed. And now we've got a PR nightmare. You're lucky he's not pressing charges yet." Across town, James sat in a sleek office, facing his director, a silver-haired man named Grayson. The FBI seal loomed on the wall behind them, a reminder of the weight they carried. "You could end that officer's career," Grayson said. "One call and he's done." James shook his head. "That's not the point. Firing him doesn't fix this. It's bigger than one cop, one park. It's the system, the snap judgments, the way people look at me and see a threat before they see a man." Grayson nodded, his face grim. "What do you want to do?" "I want a meeting," James said. "With Carter, his precinct, and the community. No cameras, no press. Just people talking. If we're going to change anything, it starts there." The community center was packed, the air thick with anticipation. Carter stood at the back, arms crossed, his uniform traded for civilian clothes at James's request. He felt exposed, vulnerable, but he'd come. James stood at the front. No suit this time, just a sweater and jeans. He looked like any other man in the room, and that was the point. "Thank you for coming," James began, his voice carrying a quiet authority. "I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here because what happened in that park happens too often. To me, to others. And it's not just about one officer or one moment. It's about how we see each other." Carter shifted uncomfortably, feeling the eyes of the room on him. A woman stood up, her voice trembling. "My son's scared to walk through that park now. What are you going to do about it?" James met her gaze. "We're going to listen, then we're going to act. Officer Carter and I have agreed to work together not as cop and agent, but as people. To train, to talk, to rebuild trust. It won't be easy, but it's a start." Carter stepped forward, his voice rough. "I made a mistake. I saw what I was trained to see, not what was there. I'm sorry. And I'm here to learn." The room was silent for a moment. Then a man in the back clapped. Slowly, others joined. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something. A beginning. James and Carter met weekly after that, not just at the precinct but in coffee shops, community centers, even the park. They talked about bias, about fear, about the weight of their roles. Carter learned to question his instincts, to see beyond the surface. James shared stories of his career, the cases he'd cracked, the lives he'd saved. Slowly, they became not friends but allies. The park incident didn't vanish. It lingered in viral videos, in whispered conversations. But it also sparked something, a training program, led by James, that spread to precincts across the city. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And in the park, by the fountain, a new sign appeared, etched in wood, "See the person, not the profile." James saw it one evening, months later, as he walked through the park. He smiled, just slightly, and kept walking. The kids were back on the swings, the joggers on their paths. The world hadn't changed, but it was trying. Months passed, and the park became a quiet symbol of change, though the scars of that day lingered. James Ellison and Officer Daniel Carter's weekly meetings grew into something more a partnership that neither had expected. Their conversations, once stiff and guarded, began to flow with a raw honesty that surprised them both. James spoke of his childhood in a neighborhood where police sirens were a lullaby, where his father taught him to keep his hands visible, his voice low, his dreams big. Carter shared his own story. A kid from a working-class family, drawn to the badge for order, for purpose, but blindsided by the complexities of the job. Each meeting chipped away at the walls between them, revealing not just their differences, but their shared desire to make things right. The community center meetings continued, drawing larger crowds. People came with stories, mothers who feared for their sons, officers who felt vilified, teenagers who saw no future in a system that seemed stacked against them. James moderated with a calm that disarmed even the angriest voices. Carter, at first a reluctant participant, found himself listening more than speaking. He heard a father describe pulling his son from basketball practice after the park incident, afraid of what a uniform might assume. He heard a young woman, barely out of high school, recount being followed by security in a store, her crime being her skin. These weren't statistics or reports. They were lives, and Carter felt the weight of each one. One evening, a retired teacher named Mrs. Clara stood up, her voice steady but fierce. "I've lived here 40 years, she said. "I've seen officers like you, Officer Carter, come and go. Some learn, some don't. What makes you different?" The room held its breath. Carter met her gaze, his throat tight. "I'm here, aren't I?" he said.
"I'm listening."
"I don't have all the answers, but I'm not running from the questions." Mrs. Clara nodded, not satisfied but willing to wait. That night, Carter went home and stared at his badge, wondering if he'd earned the right to wear it. James, meanwhile, was navigating his own battles. His FBI colleagues praised his restraint in the park, but some whispered he'd been too soft, that he should have buried Carter in a lawsuit. Others, outside the bureau, saw him as a sellout for working with the police at all. He ignored the noise, focusing on the training program he'd launched. It wasn't just about de-escalation or bias awareness. It was about teaching officers to see people, not profiles. He brought in community leaders, psychologists, even former inmates to speak. The sessions were raw, sometimes heated, but they were real. Officers left unsettled, some defensive, but others like Ramirez. Carter's partner started asking harder questions about their own instincts. The program spread to neighboring precincts, funded by a grant James secured through his FBI connections. He didn't want his name on it, but word got out. Agent Ellison's initiative, they called it, and he cringed every time. This wasn't about him. It was about the kid who might not get cuffed next time, the officer who might pause before drawing a weapon. It was about the park where families deserved to feel safe. Carter faced his own reckoning. His precinct wasn't a monolith. Some colleagues clapped him on the back for surviving the incident, while others kept their distance, wary of the spotlight he'd drawn. His sergeant, Hawkins, was blunt. "You're either part of the solution or you're the problem," she said. "Figure out which." Carter chose the former, volunteering for James's training sessions, even when it meant late nights and skeptical glares from his peers. He started noticing things he'd missed before: the way his body tensed when he saw a black man in a hoodie, the way his hand drifted to his holster without conscious thought. It wasn't just training, it was unlearning. One afternoon, Carter and James walked through Lincoln Park together. No uniforms, no badges, just two men in jeans and jackets. The fountain gurgled nearby, and the wooden sign "See the Person, Not the Profile" stood weathered but proud. A group of kids played tag, their laughter cutting through the autumn chill. "You ever think about quitting?" Carter asked, his breath visible in the air. James glanced at him, a half-smile tugging at his lips. "Every day. But then I remember why I started. Someone's got to do the work, Carter. Might as well be us." Carter nodded, kicking a pebble across the path. "I used to think I was one of the good ones. Now I'm not so sure." You're asking the question, James said. That's further than most. Their work wasn't without pushback. A local activist group, Justice Now, called the training program a Band-Aid, accusing James of cozying up to a broken system. At a community meeting, their leader, Marcus Tate, stood up, his voice sharp. You're an FBI agent, Ellison. You're part of the machine. Why should we trust you to fix it? The room buzzed with agreement, and James felt the sting. He didn't argue, didn't defend. You don't have to trust me, he said. Trust the people in this room who are trying. Trust yourself to hold us accountable. Marcus sat down, unconvinced but listening. It was a start. Carter faced his own critics. A viral video of the park incident resurfaced, edited with music and captions that painted him as the villain. His inbox filled with hate mail, some calling him a racist, others a traitor for working with James. His wife, Sarah, saw the toll it took. You don't have to keep doing this, she said one night, her hand on his. You've apologized. You're trying. Isn't that enough? Carter shook his head. Not yet. The turning point came in spring, when a new incident rocked the city. Another officer, not from Carter's precinct, stopped a black teenager for suspicious behavior near a convenience store. The boy, only 16, ended up in the hospital with a broken arm. Protests erupted, and Lincoln Park became a rallying point. James and Carter stood together at the edge of the crowd, watching signs bob above a sea of faces. No justice, no peace. Stop the violence. James spoke first. We can't let this undo everything we've started. Carter nodded, his jaw tight. What do? We show up, James said. Not as agent and cop, as people. They organized an open forum in the park. No police presence, just community members, James and Carter. The turnout was massive. Hundreds packed the grassy clearing by the fountain. The boy's mother, tears streaking her face, spoke of her son's fear, his dreams of college now shadowed by trauma. Carter listened, his hands clasped tight, feeling the weight of his own mistakes mirrored in her words. When it was his turn to speak, he didn't hide. I was part of the problem once, he said. I'm trying to be part of the answer. I don't know if I'll get it right, but I'm here. James closed the forum with a call to action. This isn't about one officer or one incident. It's about all of us. How we see each other, how we hold each other accountable. Change starts when we stop pointing fingers and start building together. The crowd didn't cheer, but they listened, and some stayed to talk, to plan, to hope. The training program grew, incorporating community feedback. Officers began wearing body cameras voluntarily, a move James pushed for and Carter championed. The park's wooden sign became a touchstone, repainted when rain faded its words. Kids started playing near it again, their laughter a quiet rebuke to the past. A year after the incident, James and Carter sat on a bench by the fountain, watching the park hum with life. The air was warm, the grass vibrant. A young girl ran past, her braids swinging, and waved at them. Carter waved back, a small smile breaking through. Think we made a difference? He asked. James leaned back, his eyes on the horizon. We're not done yet. But yeah, I think we're getting there. The park wasn't perfect. The city wasn't fixed. But the conversations continued, the training spread, and the sign stood firm. James and Carter weren't heroes, just two men who chose to listen, to learn, to try. Their story wasn't the end, but a beginning, a challenge to others to do the same. What do you think? Where does justice begin? And who carries the weight of making it real?